Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, intuitive tarot reader, and professional witch, and today I'm talking about the color gold in color magic. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. You can get my free 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. I am looking for more guests to be on the podcast, so if you're interested or know someone that might be a good fit, please fill out my form to be a guest on the podcast. And if you're local and want to meet me in person, join us for our last full moon circle of 2025 on December 7th. Celebrate the glow of the full moon with me and my colleague Izzy for an evening of connection, reflection, and ritual. We meet at Thresholds Collective in Tacoma the first Sunday of the month to welcome in the full moon together. So tickets for our December 7th event are up now. We start at 5:30 p.m. and run a 90-minute event. Hope to see you there. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, well, welcome to season 18, where I'm talking all about color magic. Today, I'm talking about the color gold. So we're in our final 2 episodes of the season. We've gone through, we did an intro, yellow, black, white, red, purple, blue, green, orange, pink, brown, and now we're on to gold, and we will end with silver tomorrow. All right, so let's get into gold. So gold as the color, also called golden, is a color tone resembling the gold chemical element. The web color gold is sometimes referred to as golden to distinguish it from the color of metallic gold. Again, this is sort of when we display it on a computer. There is metallic gold, which is, probably shinier than gold as a color. It says the first recorded use of golden as a color name in English was in 1300 to refer to the element of gold. And the word gold as a color name was first used in 1400 to refer to blonde hair. What else? What else is interesting here? Again, gold, comes from sort of the element of gold, the thing we find in the earth. It says the American Heritage Dictionary defines the color metallic gold as a light olive brown to dark yellow or a moderate strong to vivid yellow, which again is very interesting, right? We sort of span the gamut from sort of yellow but brighter or golder. And I had this challenge when I was looking for tarot cards that had gold, because I have a lot that have yellow, but I sort of tried to pick cards that emulated, in my opinion, more golden things. So I'll talk about them more, but either elements that seemed particularly gold or that were made of gold. One of them I did corn and the blonde hair, which both of those things get talked about as golden sometimes, like golden corn or golden hair. And then another one has almost like a sarcophagus kind of look on it, which is very gold looking, and a snake, which I feel like serpents are often depicted in gold jewelry, necklaces or rings, sometimes to show the Ouroboros, which is the snake eating its own tail, the kind of cycle continuous image. yeah, so that was like an interesting challenge for me. But yeah, let's move on to color magic in particular. So pulling from rachelpatterson.co.uk that I've been referencing this whole season, their article on color magic differentiates gold in particular as being about, where did it go? I just saw it. Okay, maybe I made it up. Maybe they're not talking about gold specifically on this one, but I did find it elsewhere. On ericarcadian.com, talking about color, magic, theory, and correspondences, they actually have like lessons on there. Talking about two parts, talking about color, magic, theory, and correspondences. So if you want more information after this podcast about it as like their lesson, they talk about the history of color, evolving to see color. They talk about the chakra colors, which, right, we've talked about. And then I liked here that they talked about actually seasonal colors, like the pagan through the wheel of the year, and how color changes seasonally, right? So in like, even in the mundane world, we have seasonal colors like red and green for Christmas, black and orange for Halloween, pastels for Easter. But when we think about a more magical approach, right, specific color associations with each of the 8 sabbats, they have a chart actually that talks about each one. And so interesting. So I'll reference it on this episode and the next one when we talk about gold and silver. But here they say that gold is associated with Lugnasa, right, in the sort of harvest holiday, which again makes sense to me because that is often the like corn harvest time of year, sometimes more around autumn equinox, which also has gold. So right, again, if we think about sort of the colors that occur in nature for Lugnasa and autumn equinox, it says light brown, orange, gold, dark red, and dark brown, right? So again, often we think of also like the colors of fall or autumn. If you live in a place with deciduous trees and cooler temperatures that drop their leaves, these are the colors we get that time of year. We get browns, oranges, golds as the leaves start to turn and lose their sort of chlorophyll pigmentation and fall and drop to the ground. And then we also get golds, reds, and browns as they start to like decay. I know in my neighborhood, I just went on a walk and we have oak trees, and the oak has sort of like I would say like an orangey tan leaf color once it kind of falls. I think it's kind of yellowy. It's green, turns yellow, and then falls and gets that very like crunchy tan, brown, orangish color. But right now, because I live in a rainy place, the leaves start to decompose very quickly. And so right now they're almost like dark brown, red, black as they take on a lot of water and break down and actually start to like compost and create leaf mold, which is like a type of composting. So the trees that lose their leaves at this time of year, in again cooler climates, they drop their leaves as a way to actually store energy in their roots over winter. So right, this is why you want to leave the leaves. If you're a gardener or someone that has a yard, I know leaves are not so fun to have on grass, but if you're able to and you have deciduous trees, try to collect your leaves, or collect your neighbor's leaves if they have them out in plastic bags, and then you can actually create your own like compost material from that. Just leaves themselves, you don't need anything else. They will break down that way if they're allowed to compost naturally. Or again, if you're in a forest and you look on the forest floor, you'll see it's covered in leaves this time of year, again, at least for me in the Northern Hemisphere. In this late November 2025, and those leaves break down and they actually feed the root system of the trees over winter, so that trees actually have nutrients, right? It's basically like a slow fertilizer type of element, organic matter that decays and adds nutrients to the ground, and then come spring, right, they get to use all that nutrients and they actually like send it up, right, through sugars and different things. This is how you get maple syrup. If you live in a place where they tap maple trees, the tree starts to send sugar up into the leaf areas, or where it's going to create leaves and flowers and such things. And that's kind of what happens in the spring and how we get green leaves again. So that was a random aside, but again, anyway, there's not like an official list for the sabbats, the different colors, or at least like there's some, but like not for every color. Like there's definitely white for Imbolc, because of the association with milk, or what else? All right, I mean, like I do feel like for Samhain, like orange, but again, some of that is because of the sort of Halloween element. Black, like black candles often. But yeah, I guess I'll go through some of the other ones just since I didn't find this until I did this episode. So I'll start with the kind of, again, Witch's New Year, which is on Samhain. So it says dark red, orange, or black. Right, for Samhain, we have winter solstice, which is dark red, dark green, or silver. So next episode, I'll talk about silver. So, right, that goes along with there. Imbolc, white, pink, and silver. Spring equinox, pastel pink, yellow, and lavender. Again, you think those like spring, Easter pastels. For Beltane, it's red, green, and yellow. For summer solstice, yellow, red, and green. Interesting. So kind of goes, right, yellow is the main one for solstice, for summer solstice, and then we kind of have some other ones secondary. For Lugnasta, like I said, light brown, orange, and gold, right? So for this episode, and autumn equinox is also gold, dark red, and brown. So a lot of the times this gets used with like altar cloths, or again, like table runners, or different elements. If you change your altar every season, you can change and add the different colors. If you're doing candle magic, right, you can use, again, black candles if it's around Samhain, or maybe lighter candles for solstice, or you want to do red and green like Christmas colors, or again, spring equinox, right, you bring in those pinks and yellows and lavenders. So again, it depends on what you are trying to do with the candle magic, and even with candle magic, there's also different color associations with that. I'm trying to think, this has a good explanation of magical theory and correspondences on here. So if you're interested and you enjoyed other parts of this season, you can check out this website, because they actually have like a whole really long article or blog all about how color magic shows up. All right, so let's get into some of the tarot cards that I pulled. I guess normally I talk about the day of the week correspondences, so we utilize my paper I have here. So again, there's not one necessarily for gold. I'd probably say it aligns most with Sunday, yellow for the sun or solar deities. But again, you can decide there. With golden, I'm trying to think if there are any particular deities that are associated with gold. I feel like we have like the trident of like Poseidon. Yeah, I feel like some are associated with like corn, which again kind of gets described as like gold occasionally. But anyway, let's get into the cards I pulled. So I pulled from the Norse Goddess Rune Oracle and the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle. So of course, technically those are both oracle cards, not tarot. I didn't have any tarot decks that specifically showed gold. That's what I was sort of looking for. So I actually have another oracle deck that we will use to pull for the tarot card pull at the end, because I think that one has gold almost on every image. So I thought that'd be appropriate for that one. But yeah, so let's get into it. So in the Norse Goddess Rune Oracle here, I pulled 3 different images of different goddesses, and these are all, again, Norse goddesses. So first I pulled Yera, which is number 19, or goddess Sif, associated with harvest, reward, and the yearly cycle. And again, she's kind of depicted with really long hair, like goes onto the ground, that sort of golden yellow color. She has actually a crown of like wheat, or kind of like corn looking. I guess it's wheat because it just has like a fishtail braid, not necessarily corn, but I'll see if it says it specific. I just think because corn is like an American native plant, it's probably not corn if it's in Norway, but let's look here. This is number 19. Yes, let's see here. So I am Sif, goddess of golden hair. I'm the harvest ripened crops do I bear. Bountiful reward from seeds planted in soil. May Yera bring you great rewards for your toil. Again, Sif is the golden haired goddess symbolizing the golden sheaves of wheat. Okay, so it is wheat. Sif, the bountiful mother bringing abundance to her family, and Sif forever continuing the cycle of growth with her golden hair, which again, she basically has hair that's like touching the ground. Her hair represents the wealth that comes from the land, golden ears of corn and fields of wheat, the true gold that grows from the land as a result of toil and nurturing. Her hair represents the harvesting of crops, and then when her hair is shorter, and then as it gets longer, it's her magical golden hair symbolizes the regrowth and life cycle of the harvest. Just as cutting one's hair keeps it healthy and promotes growth, we harvest the crops and prepare the land for more life. An abundant harvest is the reward for patience, well-toiled soil, and the dedication to harvesting when the crops are ripe. It is an ongoing cycle repeated annually to provide for the community and ensure survival during the winter. So I guess there's a myth with Loki, where Loki cuts Sif's golden hair as a prank, and when enraged at the slight on his wife, Por grabs Loki and threatens to harm him. Loki, fearing for his life, approached the black elves, or dwarves, who are famed for their magical work. The dwarves created hair of pure gold that, when placed near Sif's head, attached and grew as if real hair. Thus the cycle of golden growth began once again, bringing forth more golden abundance created by the toiling hands of the dwarves. So right, her hair is supposed to be like literally gold, because perhaps it was more golden blonde when it got cut off by Loki, and then Loki goes basically to the dwarves and like reattaches gold to her hair in this way. And this is supposed to be sort of like the story about, again, sort of this time of year, right? Which I think is kind of why gold comes up with Samhain and or not Samhain, with the autumn equinox and Lugnasa, is because it is the harvest time of year. So Yera is the rune associated with this card, which means harvest or reward. It represents the annual harvest period and cycle of 1 year. It is the only rune that is comprised of 2 separate staves, so which are like I guess like lines, a notion that mimics the distinct seasons of winter and summer in Scandinavia. Yera may represent the end of a cycle and the beginning of something new, perhaps a time to plant new crops and embark again on the cycle of work and reward. It reminds us that rewards take time. This is not a period for a quick fix. So if you listen to last episode where I was talking about brown, we're getting lots of messages still about hard work, patience, dedication, that nothing is quick, or at least nothing worthwhile, sort of in this way. This is not a period for a quick fix, which I do feel like going into winter in the Northern Hemisphere, it's like, yeah, that's the message. It's like harvest your stuff, have your resources, right? Be resourced, have your support systems, have your boundaries, and then sort of like use those as a way to get through the winter time, to get through your non-crop time, usually, where you actually just get to kind of like eat or live off of the things that you did during the brighter, sunnier days of the year. And it says Yera, this rune, is like literally represents 1 year at a time. So it's also this like yearly cycle. All right, let's look at some of the other cards. So I also pulled Wunjo, number 14, which depicts, she's associated with joy, happiness, and peace. I guess with color magic wise, gold is associated with like abundance. I would say like reward, right? You kind of literally have like gold as money or gold as like a currency, sort of like also happiness, peace, joy, enlightenment even. So we'll get into that with the next card I'm going to talk about. And also often like light, again, like the abundance of the harvest. Both wheat and corn, right, are very large staple crops for a lot of the world. Rice is another one. But those are very important things that, right, help us, again, get through winter. So Wuzhou here, it says, I am Lofnin, goddess of unions. I grant permission for your love communion. Fulfilling your wishes, be married this day. May Wuzhou bring joy and happiness your way. So Lofn is the goddess whose name means comforter or loving. She's the bestower of blessings on marriages that have otherwise been banned. Interesting. And Lofnin is the goddess who brings pure love, joy, and happiness to people's lives. So Lofn is depicted here presiding over a wedding feast. Okay, so she has the comforts of home and hearth. She's the grantor of marriage permission that's given to her by the goddess Frigg or the god Odin. Her sole priority is ensuring true love and happiness between the couple. She disregards prior arrangements, marriage proposals, or banned unions and places emphasis on that which brings the couple utmost joy. So this depicts a wedding feast. So there's sort of a table in front of her with all these, we have some food items. We have like some antlers and some like horns that have runes on them. We have some candles that have runes on them. The rune that's depicted on this card. Wuzhou. What else? We have kind of like a golden, I was trying to see if they said what it was. Like, I was gonna say cross, but it's not really a cross. It's like a golden item. Could be like part of like an altar or like a necklace. And again, we see this rune depicted all throughout. And we actually have candles that are lit with light, like golden light as well. So that's another way that gold gets depicted in cards. Let's see. So Wuzhou, again, is the rune, which is the rune of happiness, meaning joy. It represents all of the pleasant experiences and emotions that life has to offer. Joy can be found in life-changing events, such as marriage or the birth of a child, through the day-to-day experiences, such as watching the sunset, another golden hour, or savoring a warming cup of coffee in the morning. The rune reminds you to revel in the pleasantries, to be grateful for your life you have, and the many joyful experiences that you can relish if you only pay closer attention. So there's also this attitude of gratefulness. Wuzhou is a rune of peace. So happiness can be found in simply being rather than doing. Ooh, I like that. Also appropriate, I would say, for where I live this time of year. Being rather than doing. And then finally, in this deck, I pulled Kenaz, number 11, with the goddess Gunnlod. I really need to work on my Norse. What is that? My. I guess it's maybe like Icelandic if it's for the runes. Okay, this was number 11. So here we have, what to me looks kind of like a sarcophagus situation, or like she's sitting on a throne that has runes on it, and she has an eagle, she has some pottery, or like vases, she has a golden serpent at her feet, and then also sort of like a skull, and she has these like, I guess, scythes above her. And a horn, she's holding like a horn, like a horn of plenty kind of horn. So she says, she is associated with beacon, enlightenment, and passion. I am Gunnlod, the keeper of mead, giantess in a cave. I have what you need. The gift of the scald's poetry you desire. May Kenaz bring passion to fuel your fire. So she is the daughter of Sundgur, the Jotun, who obtained the mead of poetry. Okay, Gunnlod, the protector of the mead in a cave deep within the mountain of Hindenburg, and Gunnlod, tricked by Odin into sharing the forbidden libation. So again, mead is alcohol made from honey, another golden substance. So she is the giantess that protects the sacred mead of poetry. The mead holds a magical power that gives one the ability to become a scholar, a bard, or a skald. So kind of, right, the storyteller, the one who passes on legends or lore or stories to others and in the community. Okay, so I guess as part of the myth, Odin shapeshifts into a snake, enters a hole bored in the mountain, and woos Gonlod, laying with her for 3 nights. In exchange, Odin requests a sip from each vat of mead, and in doing so, drains each one before shapeshifting into an eagle and flying away. So we have all these aspects of the myth. Or of the story here. As Odin nears Asgard, he spews the mead into prepared vats. As Sundgur closes in, Odin sends some mead backwards, and these drops fall to earth and give humans the power of poetry and creativity. Odin shares the mead with the gods and those who have the ability to compose. So again, kind of like these storytellers, right? Of the culture. Skalds and bards reveled in the newfound gifts gained through the meads of poetry. Gunnlod is the keeper of the mead, the sacred goddess of the gift of enlightenment. And Kenaz is the rune of enlightenment, so affiliated with this here, it means torch. So again, we have the golden kind of aspect representing fire. It's the beacon shining a light on knowledge. It's reminiscent of headlights lighting a path in the darkness and uncovering what is yet to be discovered. It burns brightly, bringing warmth and comfort around the fire as wisdom is handed down through storytelling and shared experiences, often over a horn of mead. So it says, now is the time to focus your attention on what feeds those flames so you can nourish your body, mind, and soul. Kenaz is the spark of passion or creativity. It's what fuels the fire in your belly. Pick up the paintbrush, compose the song, write the poem, woo your beloved, have a candlelit dinner, embody self-love. Kenaz provides the light by which you seek, learn, and thrive, gifting you the spark to create. I love that there. So we have the sort of, right, the spark of knowledge, right, of creativity, of poetry, of storytelling there. All right. And then finally, I pulled 3 cards from the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle here. And I pulled, again, based on golden elements. So we have divination. We have the candle lights. And actually, it almost looks like a brick, like a gold brick sitting in front of the person as they lay out their tarot cards and they have their candles out, or perhaps it's their tarot box or their deck of cards that look like they have gilded edges. Then we have the witch, where she has very golden hair and we see some golden flowers and she has all of these plants in abundance around her. And then we have ritual, where again we see a person in a circle with all these sorts of candles or lamps circled around them. Ritual. So for divination, it says, take a breath, take it twice. Insightful reflections are guided by light. With the witch, she says, grab hold, allow the dwelling fire within belly, awaken all that is. A mere glimpse, a delicate pull at the very roots living in the alchemy of self. And for ritual, it says, can you feel them? The wild creatures linked by the very blood you spill into your craft. A ritual of dedication to self and those whose gazes hold fire, but whose whispers carry you softly through the unknown. I love this because we have the divination, which is sort of like perhaps like the passion, or right, using your spark or your energy to try to connect with the divine or divine the future. Reflections, right, used light here. We have the witch, who, right, is again kind of like pulling. We get a glimpse into the alchemy of self, as the card says. Awaken all that is, right? Sort of embodying your witch self and everything that you know and can learn in all of your practices. And then again, we sort of close here with ritual, right? Where you are circled around by your candles. You have your dedication, your ritual to self. And then it talks about, right, the fire. whose gazes hold the fire. And kind of like the things that are created, by the very blood you spill into your craft, right? That also exists outside of your perhaps like magical rituals or rituals to self, right? This exists in your work life and the things that you create in your world, right? This could even just be like you decorate for holidays, or you bring joy, you make gifts, you do all these things. All of these things can be seen as aspects of ritual as well. Again, especially when we do them every year. I was going to look up ritual in here to see if there's anything else they have to add. It's about dedication and harnessing. Right? Ritual is the foundation of a witch's practice. It's a doorway to worlds unseen and a rite of passage. Ritual is a dedication to your craft and is about you showing up for things that are essential to you, be it going to the gym, organizing your kids, or by going to work, organizing your kids, or hitting the gym. Spiritual rituals are no different. If anything, they are even more critical than the day-to-day stuff of life. It's important to take time to honor your magic and the magic of those you call upon. By doing so, you are making a choice. If you have pulled ritual, it is because you're being drawn to honor your magic in a more profound way. You are being asked to explore your power as a witch truly and to find the proper time and energy to develop your craft. Making time to honor each step of ritual magic through intention is like sending out a beacon saying, I'm here and ready to own my power as a witch. The powers that be will notice your efforts and begin to give you more power as a reward. Well, that's a lovely sentiment. So let's go ahead and pull a card to see how can we work with the color gold today? How can we add to what we've learned? And I'm pulling from the Citadel, a fantasy oracle deck by Fen Inkwright. And like I said, these cards are mostly black and white and red ink. And then they actually have almost like gold foil on every card as they're kind of to emphasize certain aspects of the imagery, which is very cool. So I figured that would be appropriate for this episode here. It's sort of like a coppery gold. Let's see here. Okay, so how can we work with the color gold today? I pulled the Botanist, but in reverse. So I'll see if, I'm trying to remember if this has reversals. Okay, it does. The Botanist, I don't know if I've ever pulled this one before. Maybe. All right, a botanist is someone that works with and studies plants. So the Botanist in reverse, it says, you may have become too parental in your social relationships, becoming controlling and overprotective. This is creating stress for others and for you. Let your roles mature by releasing the parent-child dynamic and embracing a more trusting, independent, adult-to-adult relationship. Okay, well, I don't know about you, but I know exactly what they're talking about, at least in my life. So, very interesting. So that is how gold wants to work with you today, right? And actually maybe setting boundaries or, right, releasing our dynamics or stress about others' relationships into a more trusting, independent, adult-to-adult relationship. All right, and that again was the Citadel deck, a fantasy oracle by Fen Inkwright. So if you'd like to join me on the journey of using the tarot for transformation, you can click on the link in the show notes to indicate your interest, and I will send you more info. I'll be doing monthly workshops in 2026, deep diving into the major arcana cards, one per month. So I'm very excited to do that. Links for the tarot decks I talk about in the episodes will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.